It's spooky season, bitches. Hello lovely beings, welcome back to my channel. My name is Primrose and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking all about Wicca. I am so excited to continue with this series. It's been so long, okay? It's been so long and I'm so excited to be bringing it back. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be discussing Samhain. Samhain is one of my most favourite Wiccan Sabbats, honestly. It tops all. My soul is soothed by spirits and spooky shit. I don't know what, it just comes with being a witch, I guess. And for today, I put a little bit of extra spice and effort into this video and I created a PowerPoint presentation. I know I am a visual person as well, so this format actually really helps me, and hopefully you guys are gonna find this video beneficial. This video is going to cover all of the basics of Samhain, so you definitely want to make sure you have a coffee and a notebook to hand. So this is my PowerPoint. I'm so proud of it. It took me like 2 days working on it, honestly. I just think it is the freaking cutest thing ever. Can you tell I love this season? Today in our presentation we are going to be discussing all about Samhain. In this presentation, I'm going to cover what is Samhain, you know, what does it mean, what's the holiday about, what is it? We're also going to be looking at a brief history of Samhain, the traditions that come along with Samhain, including a mix of both old and new traditions, the correspondences you can have for Samhain, and then a summary. So if you would like to learn more, then do keep watching right until the end. Okay, so what is Samhain? Samhain, also commonly known as Halloween, is the Wiccan Sabbath which occurs on the 31st of October and acts as a marker between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. And it is also a time when the veil between the two spiritual planes is at its thinnest. It is a time to welcome in the dark half of the year, and where we see the end of birth and growth, and we acknowledge death. Due to its references with rebirth, Samhain is also often referred to as the Witch New Year and is regarded as one of the most important Wiccan Sabbats. Although Samhain is celebrated on the 31st of October, this is actually just for the Northern Hemisphere, whereas the Southern Hemisphere, it's typically celebrated between the 30th and 31st of April to the 1st of May. However, some pagans and witches will actually just still choose to celebrate this on the 31st of October at the same time as the Northern Hemisphere. This is because a lot of Wiccans believe the same thing, that this particular Sabbath should be held the same date every year, no matter where you are in the world, just because that is the time when the spiritual planes are at its thinnest. But if you're one of the pagans that actually choose to celebrate it as they do in the Southern Hemisphere, then that's also fine. It's completely personal preference. And although it is commonly celebrated on the 31st of October, some celebrations actually run on to the 1st of November, and then some celebrations are actually exclusive to the 1st of November only and not on the 31st. This is because there are regional differences in where people tend to celebrate. People have different traditions. So if you come from a Celtic background, it might be different to coming from a different place in the world. So it's entirely up to you in terms of your practice and what feels right for you. Personally, I like to celebrate it on the 31st or very near close to the 31st. I'll probably extend the celebration of that time leading up to it, but then the main celebration will actually be held on the 31st itself. So I will enjoy the time around it, but then the main celebration for me will be on the 31st. It is also a time to welcome in the darker half of the year, so it is an end to birth and growth, and we start to acknowledge death. So this is a time where the days become a lot shorter, and it's an indication that winter is actually approaching. It also indicates an end to the harvest season as well. Due to the veil of the worlds being at its thinnest, it's also regarded as the Wiccan Day of the Dead. It's got very similar connotations to it and is essentially a celebration of life that has passed, a celebration of our ancestors and of heightened spiritual connection. And it is a complete full circle, so it indicates that there is no life without death, and vice versa, that there can be no death without life. But we'll go into this in more detail later on. Wiccans don't see this celebration as a time of sadness, even though it's heavily focused on acknowledging death. But we see it as a time to rejoice and celebrate those that have moved on. Death isn't something that we see as something to be saddened by. For example, if you look at its purpose in nature, things that are beginning to die back now are creating home, acting as food for all of the ecosystems around it. So it's just complete full circle. Other common names that you might hear Samhain be called will include the Witch's New Year, Halloween, All Souls, the Feast of the Dead, All Souls Night, All Hallows Eve, All Saint Eve. There is quite a range of different names there that you might also hear being passed around at this time, but they all essentially mean the same type of celebration. The reason that they have different names is they all typically point to a different period of time where this celebration would go on. They also might point to different regional differences as well as people's different traditions, which I think is really nice, you know, to know that it was called a certain thing between such and such period of time. And I think it's really nice to hold on to these old style names. It's nice to pay like homage to old celebrations and people that would celebrate in a certain way as part of a different era in time. Like I say, I think they have a certain charm about them, and you know, all of these names just seem to ring true for me as a Wiccan. Hopefully they do for you too. So a brief history about Samhain. So I decided to choose this quote as a good representation for the history and the story of Samhain. The god, as the Sun King, is sacrificed back to the land with the seed until the winter solstice, and the goddess, now as crone, mourns him until his rebirth at Yule. This quote is from The Goddess and the Green Man. This quote is particularly important because it is a reference to the story of the god and the goddess, which I'm going to do a whole video on shortly, so make sure you are following me to keep up to date with that. Essentially it means the goddess, the crone, she's in her final state. So she is part of the triple goddess, and this is her final form. So she's in her final form within the circle of life. She's mourning her loss, but carries with her a wealth of knowledge and maturity as being the crone. And then we can take nature, which is one of the god's representations, dies back and descends to the underworld, which is essentially what is creating that thinner veil between the two worlds as he passes through, and then he will later be reborn, which continues that idea of the cycle, death to life, and essentially starting a new cycle, and a fresh cycle, which again is why we are calling it the Witch's New Year. So next we are going to be looking at traditions, all the fun stuff. So traditions, how do you celebrate Samhain? What's the crack here? So common traditions that you might expect to see may include carving gourds. I put here i.e. turnips for a reason. So the carving of gourds has been around for some time now, and originally in Ireland they used to carve turnips, hence why I've put turnips there. However, more traditionally pumpkins are used, but any form of gourd will actually work. And the actual carving of gourds is used for different reasons depending on different traditions and regions. However, the Irish myth of Stingy Jack is a really good place to start your research if you want to find out why we actually carve the gourds. The legend is a little too long to explain in this video, so I'm actually going to do a reel on this, which you can find over on my Instagram at PrimroseDoe, as I am here. But essentially, a summary of the reason is that we light pumpkins to ward off wandering evil spirits. So it's usually very good practice to carve your pumpkin, and then what you'll do is you put it out on your front doorstep. That is creating a protection of the home, and also don't forget to light the pumpkin as well. Next we have a dumb supper or feast of the dead. I absolutely love the word dumb supper. I don't know why, I'm just like, it just sounds so freaking cool. Essentially, a dumb supper means a supper in silence, the dumb part which directly refers to the silence. It's a hosted dinner where both the living and the past will be invited. And by past, I mean people that have passed, not like previous, not past, not in the past, but people that have passed on. And what this is, it will be a hosted dinner where you will invite people of the living and those who have passed on as well. And I know what you're gonna say, Prim, how the frick do we do that? Well, I'm about to tell you. So as the veil between the two worlds is at its thinnest, it's a perfect time to hold a dumb supper, because spirits are more susceptible to being invited and brought forward into the space. The reason that people choose to hold a dumb supper is it allows people to pay their respects to those that have passed on. It can often be a really nice way to grieve or to mourn, or as a way of letting go and saying that final goodbye when in some cases people never get there. And it's just very similar to the way that it would work if you're putting an offering on your altar, for example. The food that you will display at your meal will essentially be a large offering to those that attend. And as mentioned, this is held complete in silence. So it allows for a lot of reflection, it allows for a lot of meditation and to be susceptible to spiritual messages that are coming through, listening to your surroundings, and like I say, just being completely open spiritually. So how it would work is, if you want to hold a dumb supper, you invite people that you want to attend, the living people that you want to attend, in whatever format that works for you. It'd be really nice to jazz up invitations, that sort of thing. And those that you want to invite that you have passed on, important things to remember is to leave them an offering of food, set them a place at the table. Obviously, if you've got quite a few people to invite, you don't have to set a place for each one, but if you just set a place for one, and then have candles that represent each spiritual body that you're inviting, that's perfectly fine. Have things there like their photographs, trinkets, jewelry, anything that belongs to them that can draw that energy forward. You may choose to do a ritual, calling them forth, however you choose, or however you see fit. Some people choose to write them letters and, you know, mentally read through it, or keep it as a secret and put it in their area. You know, there's lots of different things that you can incorporate. Key takeaway points: set them a place at the table, have it in silence, and just be open and willing to receive, because it is such an important time for your spiritual awareness and your psychic awareness. So just take that all in. Another activity that you can do would be to dress up, especially in the form of like trick or treat. That's a very common thing that you see at Halloween, but it does actually predate back into Samhain. So it's been a very long-standing tradition. The whole idea behind it is that you dress as something scary, so that when spirits and beings from other worlds pass through, because the veil is at its thinnest, I've said this about a million times, then they'll actually not be tempted to kidnap you, which I think is freaking hilarious. I don't think they'd want to kidnap me anyway. I'd be with them for a whole 5 minutes, and then they would be like, hell no, you can't have her back. It's also an extremely effective way to ward off evil spirits, ghosts, malevolent things. You know, if you look horrendous, they are not going to want to take you. You have to look more scary than they do, so you know, it's Halloween.
It's Halloween.
Another way that you can dress up without necessarily dressing up as a monster or something scary is you can just wear black. And black is a sign of respect for those that have passed, so it is very appropriate for this time. And you know, if you're a witch, you probably like dressing up in black anyway, because black's freaking cool. Another thing that you could do for Samhain would be to create an ancestor altar, and this is different to your regular altar in the sense that they are completely separate. A lot of people actually choose to just have an altar exclusive and dedicated to. This can include their photos, their jewelry, maybe their ashes or hair, as that's quite a modern thing that people choose to keep now. It's also a good idea to incorporate a black candle on this altar, as that links so strongly with this time of year. But if you don't have a black candle, then white is also a good substitute. Another thing that you can do is, if you can't set up a full altar, pagans and witches will choose to put photos of their loved ones in the window of their home with a candle, and what that's essentially saying is that is inviting that loved one to come into your home. There's like a pagan saying that, you know, on Halloween the spirits will walk the earth, they'll walk sort of our astral level, and if they see their photo in your window, what they'll do is they'll obviously come in, because they're able to identify the house that's yours, the house where they're welcome and they're allowed to be safely. So, you know, I think that's just a really lovely thing to do as well. I also just wanted to say as well, if you don't have a loved one that you want to honour, an ancestor or someone in your life, then it's completely acceptable to choose an idol, someone that you admire, an icon, anything like that as a replacement, as someone else that you can show worship to, as someone that you can show your respects to. That is absolutely fine. You do not have to choose a family member, especially because family can be quite a difficult topic for a lot of people, and I don't want anyone to feel left out. So as long as you know that you can show your respects in that way without it being directly to, you know, to a family member, then that is also completely acceptable. I mean, even if you don't have an idol and you just want to pay respects to the god and the goddess, perfect. You're already doing an amazing job. So don't focus and don't think you cannot do these things because you don't have somebody that you wish to pay your respects to. Having a bonfire is another great way to celebrate Samhain. The bonfire is something that acts as a representation for the cauldron. Massive representations there with fertility, the giving of life and taking of death, transformation, rebirth. It's all to do with that circle, that cycle of life. You can use the fire to end old traditions, old habits that you want to get rid of, and welcome in new energies, new habits that you want to introduce into your life. Things that you particularly wish to end, you can write down on paper, or if you choose, you can put it on a bay leaf, because that's very common practice within paganism. And then it can be thrown into the fire, you can watch it burn up, and then release all of that negativity. Spirits and the departed can also be invited to join you in that space. You can honor them with music, dancing, singing, any old stories that you have and that you wish to share around the bonfire. If you're somebody that isn't able to actually have a bonfire, and if you have a log burner in your home, that's also suitable, and you can do the same sort of thing. And then if not, you can also use a candle as well. That is absolutely fine. You have to remember that with witchcraft and the Wiccan faith, it's a lot about representation. So even if you're not allowed to have a candle, if you had one of those like fake pillar candles that looks like a candle but is like just a light or LED, the whole process of writing out that negativity, you know, burning it over the flame, over the candle, same thing. You just have to put your, just put your energy into it, imagine it being released. It's all visualization. Whatever you visualize and put forth into this plane, it transpires into the astral plane, into the spiritual plane, as if it's already happened. That's pretty much how manifestation works, in a similar sort of way. So even if all you can do is visualize heavily the changes that you want to happen, absolutely fine. There's always ways around it. You don't have to feel like you have any limitations in your craft. We are going to make it work for you. Do not worry. And having a bonfire is also a great time to try scrying. What scrying is essentially looking for images that you see in the flames or messages that come through, and it is an ideal time of year to try this as well, because the veil's at its thinnest. Because the veil's at its thinnest, you will be so much more susceptible to receiving and being open to those spiritual messages. All spiritual power is heightened 10 times over, so it's a fantastic time to try it if you have never tried it before. And don't forget to write down everything that you see and the meanings as well. Another thing that you can do on Samhain is to actually visit a cemetery. As you know, the world's between the thinnest, blah blah blah. It is a great time to visit a cemetery, pay your respects to those that have passed. Also a really good way to open up your intuition. See if you can stand or meditate on in that space, and what messages you get come through, you'll have them come through into your mind, and just be open to receiving, and that will already heighten your psychic abilities and skills. It's important to remember that this is an incredibly powerful time of year for spirituality, spell work, divination, and the results and what you experience is going to be a lot more intensive. And things like banishing spells, anything that removes old energy and brings in the new, is incredibly effective at this time. But just a reminder, proceed with caution, because things are more intensive. You just want to make sure you're protecting your spiritual self just as much as you are being open to receiving those new messages and things coming through. I also think it's a good idea in your spiritual practice to combine the old traditions with the new traditions, just in a way that feels right for you. Everything that I've listed here, you don't have to do each and every one of these to pass Samhain. You can pick and choose as much as you want. You don't have to do any of these. You could do one of these, or you could do all of these. It is entirely up to you. Just remember, don't take on too much, protect your spiritual self, and just do what feels right within your practice. Just go with the flow. Just, take it as it comes, and I'm sure you're gonna have a wicked Samhain no matter what you do. Next we have our correspondences, and I always think these are really useful to know because they can apply to decorating your home, the altar, choosing what to wear, choosing how to eat around this time of year, so keep watching. The corresponding colours for Samhain include black, orange and purple. Black relates to death, things coming to an end, things drawing to a close. Orange relates to the time of year, so autumnal time, fall, pumpkins. It represents life within death, optimism and warmth. And then we have purple, and purple is the representational colour for spiritual awareness and your intuition, also psychic abilities and protecting your psychic self. Natural items that correspond to this time of year include gourds, acorns, leaves. You can literally go outside and pick gorgeous dried orange leaves. They are perfect for decorating your altar with, perfect for decorating your home with. Bay leaves, rosemary, garlic. Bones are a really good thing. There's a specific way to clean bones if you find them out in nature, so please make sure you are cleaning any bones that you're picking up from outside before putting them in your home. Don't even touch them with your hands, okay? Just make sure everything's appropriately clean. Berries and nuts and pumpkin seeds. Traditional foods for this time of year include pumpkins, cider and apple juice. Anything that really includes apples is a big one this time of year because this is when they're coming to the end of their season. Corn, bread, oats and wheat, garlic, butter, milk, any roasted or slow cooked foods. Corresponding crystals for this time of year will include black tourmaline, clear quartz and black obsidian. You want to look for crystals that particularly promote protection but also those that enhance your psychic abilities, and these three crystals do all of that. So to summarize, Samhain is a time of celebration, honouring the dead and inviting them into your home and paying respects to their lives. It's a celebration and not a time of sadness. Keep jack-o'-lanterns lit and wear black to ward off wandering malevolent spirits. This is a great time for divination, connecting with spirits and having a deeper psychic awareness. Samhain is the threshold to the season of death. The fertile fields of summer give way to the bare forests of autumn. As crops slowly die and winter takes over, the cycle of life is once again approaching a renewal. By Dacha Avalin. Thank you. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I really hope you enjoyed. I really hope that you liked this format of video. I feel like for educational videos like this, it's actually really useful for me because I've got a set plan of what to go through, and hopefully it's more useful to you guys as well because you get to see the notes visually. I mean, I don't know, for me it helps a lot, but do please leave me your feedback down below and let me know what you think, because it's the first time trying this and I was a bit nervous. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you guys actually learned something and you have, you know, all the tools to take away with you and have a wicked Samhain. On another note, I am also going to make this PowerPoint available for download for £1. If you would like to own this yourself, you can use the slides in your Book of Shadows. There's also a couple of extras in there, including blog posts that are really useful. I'm also going to have all of my notes on there as well that I've used within this video. If you're interested in having that for your Book of Shadows, to make further notes, just to support my channel and making these videos, then I'm going to leave all the details down below in the description for you to be able to download that for yourselves as well. I truly appreciate all of your guys' support, and you know, I couldn't do this without you guys. So yeah, I'm really excited to be back up and around with the witchy videos, and it's autumn season. Woo! Right, I'm gonna go. I've talked too much. Have a lovely Samhain. Tell me all of your planned activities down below. Just come and say hi, come and connect, give me your questions, anything. Come meet me down in the comments. Also, make sure you are giving this video a gigantic pumpkin-sized thumbs up, and obviously subscribing because you can't wait to watch more. You can't wait to watch more. Right, I'm gonna go. Have a wicked Samhain, guys. Love you so much.